Davies in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Amina Margot.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
And we're back again. New season, new show, better than ever before. We're back. It's been a few weeks since our last pod for the Transfer Zone with our host Matt, but it's alright. I'm back off holiday now. I'm back at the wheel again with both the boys. Guys, I've missed you. I know I only saw you the other day, but we haven't done this in so long. Adam, how are you?
I'm not too bad, actually. I went to the game, which we'll obviously discuss, but there were a few other high points. Got to meet Tara Goldie, which was nice. Wished her well for her recovery. Got her autograph.
Speaking of
got
Tara
a new
Goldie.
scarf. Got a new scarf as well. Got that as part of the event, which we may talk about later. So it was all good. Also meeting you guys again in the Tolly, in the street. Always good for a meet up and a drink up. So yeah, probably you'll say those were the highlights of Sunday, shall we say, as we're sure we'll get into.
Also, who's back? Who's absolutely back again? He's having a bit of a break from hosting duties. Matt, how you been?
Yeah, not too bad. Been a bit of a up and down sort of seesaw sort of over the last couple of weeks and things, but I'm looking forward to talking about tonight and, as always, talking to you guys. It was really fantastic to see you in the flesh since the Villa game at the end of the season. Yeah. So it's been a while since then, but it was great to see people again, and some old faces, some new faces. Unfortunately, missed a couple of old familiar faces, some of them that are friends of the podcast as well. For silly reasons, we just didn't miss it. We missed each other, but that's fair enough. I am a bit annoyed. Lottie got a nice little photo of a certain legend.
I got my second photo with Kelly Smith over the weekend in the Tollerton, which was pretty cool. But I've got a funny one for you guys. So Miles, who normally comes with us to football, he basically went to meet a friend afterwards. Where the players were coming out, he's just come out the armoury. Guess which two players were sitting on the block, on one of the stone blocks outside the armoury, and no one recognised them?
I'm going to say Tara Goldie and Leah Williamson. 1
out of 2.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I would have probably said Kyra, because she's kind of new and she hasn't had a lot of photos, but
Nope.
Sabrina?
Oh,
nope.
Is it one
more guess.
Okay.
Adam.
Is it one of the ACLs?
No, I'm answering the question.
Okay. Beth Mead.
No. Victoria Pelova.
Oh,
wow.
They were just sitting there and people walking past them like they were just regular people, which is a bit insane for me. So
I'm surprised Vic was there. I can understand obviously Tara being there with ACL, and she had obviously had a prior engagement, but I thought Vic would have been on the in the team bus in the changing room getting some last minute.
They didn't come in their team bus. They all came in their own cars. It's a home game.
Fair enough.
It's a home game. So little bit of news. Jodie Taylor's retired finally. We did think we were going to get that out in the summer. Kate McCabe's renewed again. I've got to say, I absolutely loved that video. This sentimental stuff's not me. Let's just get to work. Is that typical Katie McCabe for you boys?
Absolutely, that is McCabe all over. And I love the bait and switch. I love a good bait and switch. So too often with these things, you can often see it coming, but they really had me drawn in. And I did think it was a subtle wink of the fact that she did have an offer in January. That with Chelsea, we know Chelsea childhood club.
Oh,
and
let's not mention that because I've been winding people up on Twitter.
but And so when you hear her saying, "Oh, I've had to think a lot about my future," thinking, "Yeah, you probably have," and then the way she goes, "No, I'm not having this," I was like, "Right, yeah, it's Katie, absolutely, 100% all over, loved it." It's a good contract announcement clip when you keep rewatching it, when you rewatching it again. And I had that with the Catley one, and I've had that with the McCabe one, just going back and rewatching it because it's just so much fun.
No, absolutely. Leah Williams is back up and running in training. Well, not too fast, thankfully, but she's now back up and running. Us three had the pleasure of being a part of the 54,115 in attendance on Sunday, which was absolutely bloody brilliant. We will get onto that a little bit more. Finally, our Conti Cup fixtures are out. Bristol City will be played at Meadow Park on the 9th of November. I'm not verifying any times just in case it changes, because knowing our luck, it will. Yeah. So, and then we're away at St Mary's in Southampton on the 25th of November, and then we play Tottenham Hotspur at home at Meadow Park on the 13th of December. And I am praying to the gods that they'll move this to the Emirates at this point, because that fixture will be a sellout because it's an North London derby.
If I were a betting man, I'd say no. I don't think they will, but we'll see. We'll see.
But I didn't ask, so I knew you were going to say that. So
we should say, regardless, we are having the WSL derby rightly at Emirates Stadium.
Yep.
But we'll see.
Yep, and then the final fixture is Reading away at the Select Car Stadium on the 24th of January. But we're going to get on to what we're really here to, which is what people call the shock of the WSL. I think my shock is how many red cards have come out. That's my shock at this point.
No,
but the shock result was Arsenal 0, Liverpool 1. It seems at the moment like everybody's in like sort of two camps. Oh, Chelsea have lost their opening game of the last season. We're still in it. It doesn't matter. And then you've got there's only 20. The camp that's 22 games a season. We can't afford to lose again now, because if you look at Chelsea's seasons last season, they lost twice in WSL, and that was it. And they had all their other competitions going on. Was it really the shock of the weekend after like 7 years of all our opening games being wins, Matt?
I'll probably say no, just mainly because we've been used to just getting into that. Yeah, we've been just getting used to getting into the rhythm of things. The wins over Chelsea, and it was the one last season. It's going to come to me. Brighton, thank you.
Was it Brighton? Was it Brighton? Yeah, Brighton 4-0, wasn't it? The 4-0 game. Yeah.
Along those sort of lines, we've had games where we've gone and won opening day of the season. You probably say the game against Chelsea, Adam, you were at, if I remember correctly, and that was a game and a half. And if that was your introduction to WSL, that is going to be Sky Sports' defining moment of how women's football would have been presented for the next couple of years, you'd imagine. But for me, it was going to happen sooner or later. You can't keep a couple of records. You can't keep going. We win the opening days. Adam's got an interesting stat about us playing at the Emirates.
Oh right, yeah.
Against Liverpool.
Thanks for spoiling
that,
Matt.
Can we not talk about that stat, because I saw that stat. I deliberately didn't retweet it, and look what happened.
Well, it's even better than that, because Arsenal have only ever lost. Well, previously they've only ever lost their opening game of the season once, and that was at home to Liverpool, and that was at the Emirates Stadium.
I know. I saw that. You're a jinx.
Okay,
you're back at it again.
Liverpool are the only team in WSL who have kept a clean sheet against Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. So that's twice. Arsenal have never scored against them in the WSL Emirates Stadium, which is incredible, which is why I say to B9 Co, don't put games on at Emirates Stadiums against Liverpool anymore. They are off the list permanently. But at the same time, when Liverpool did win 4-0, they won the league, Arsenal came third, and Chelsea came second bottom. So maybe we're going to see Chelsea in a relegation.
I don't think Emma Hayes is going to allow that to happen, even with Sam Kerr injured. Don't mean to be funny. I've had a few podcasts on today, and everyone's saying it is basically our worst start, especially after going out in the Women's Champions League. It's been 4 years since we won the title. what do we do now at LSV?
All we can do is just plough on, I guess. We've got a big game obviously coming up on Friday, which I'm sure we'll get to later. It's a blow. It's a blow to the to the gut. We were hopeful that this was going to be the rebound after the Champions League. Record isn't great. This is 3 league defeats on the trot if you carry over from the previous season. Although, of course, it's take it with a pinch of salt because last season there were circumstances around the fact that we lost the last 2 games, and I will not hold that on Jonas whatsoever on the team. That was a team that I just couldn't play anymore for the reasons that's been spoken about in previous pods, obviously the injuries. But I went to this game thinking that this was going to be the ignition switch moment, that this was all going to kick in. And the fact that it didn't, which again, I've got a lot of theories behind that. I've got a piece coming out hopefully later this week, so maybe dig a bit more into it. It was very disappointing, and it just felt that there was such a good build up to the game. There was a really good party atmosphere. Obviously, there was the red and white fan walk. There was a lot of, we had the brass band out doing the music. There was a lot of positivity. Me and you, Lottie, we met in the Tollington. Lots of good vibes in there. Lots of, was walking through on the train, getting up. Obviously, I met my good friend Lucy on the pod on the way. Obviously, Daddy wasn't going to the game. She was going to an NFL game, but all talking up about the game. It was all good vibes, all positivity. And then the moment the whistle blew in the game, I don't know, it just seemed to just sort of stop. And what happened was not the exciting, vibrant, attacking football. I think back to the Spurs game last season, which we were all there for. The carnival sort of carried on to the pitch, and that it didn't really happen. I think with a bit of a pre-game raw, 5 minutes in, the hype's all there.
Is you can't.
It all just
I'll
went,
be honest with you. You can't compare a North London derby when more's on the line to a game against Liverpool. It's just not going to happen. The fact that it's an NLD is what attracts the fans from the men's and the sort of fan base. That's what it is. It's that North London derby pool. But the rest of the games aren't going to be like that. It's just not going to happen.
No, but what I meant was that when we played Spurs, the football was happening and it was exciting. Okay. I didn't feel like a football match.
My reference was to the way the carnival was that you're referring to.
Yes, yeah. But
that's
I felt
not going to generate into other games for a while. But that will always be there because of the initial. Yeah, North London is red. No, North London is. I can't say it, but
no.
Everyone knows what I mean. It's that ever long-standing argument, but I will always be on the side that North London is London is red as far as I'm concerned when it comes to women's football. 100%. No one else got Champions League football trophy.
Women's, yeah. But the football match that obviously we saw last season against Spurs, which was exciting, we won 4-0, didn't really break out, and it became very stodgy and very slow. And I was going from obviously going to be fun to as it progressed, I was thinking, I started getting a bit worried. And certainly at half time, again, I'm jumping out a bit, I did feel like we might get sucker punched. But yeah, I thought 5 minutes in, I realised that this wasn't going to be as comfortable as maybe I was hoping it was going to be.
Just going to make that point, though, that these players have essentially come off of a World Cup, have had barely any time for a holiday themselves. They haven't been able to soak themselves, relax, rest. They've basically had like maybe a week back with their families and flying back for training, then having the Champions League, which means they've only had about top of a week, maybe less. And then it just hasn't really helped that we haven't had that helpline compared to the others. You look at Liverpool. Liverpool had a full pre-season. They ended up playing Manchester United behind closed doors and lost out on 4-3. There was other players and teams that were fully doing a pre-season, and a lot of the other teams weren't doing a pre-season. This isn't just on the fixture list. This needs to be sorted as a whole. This needs to come between the whole of the confederations, the whole of the leagues as well. They need to sit down with the players and say, how do we make sure that everyone's being fair with each other, make sure that everyone gets like a full pre-season, make sure everyone gets a holiday, make sure that there's no real lack of ACLs. Taya Goldie coming back from training, and then she goes and does her other ACL that was then mentioned by Rob Holding uh, in an interview. Leaks.
Yeah.
It's just things like that. You think it's not excuses because it's true, because they are all, sooner or later they could be defining season moments. It could be further down the line Chelsea end up with a load of ACL injuries and then they end up, their season goes on, or it might be Man United that fall on because not Gareth Taylor, because that's a Man City. I forgot the Man United manager, Mark Skinner.
Mark Skinner.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I reminded myself. He might decide that if sooner or later he'll carry on playing the same players, and again. And if these players then go on to international duty, playing 90 minutes, sooner or later something's going to break, and it will be either a player's mentality or physically, and it's not doable at all. So for players' safety, sooner or later, either they turn around and say, "I'm not going to join in for the internationals because I need a break," or they turn around and say, "Look, I need a break this week," like Viv has done. She might be the example that you might see in the next 5-6 years, where she'll be the leading player to sort of say, "Look, players need breaks here and there," because they've been consistently going on and on.
We should say on the ACL front, obviously there's been two. There's been Caroline Weir, who did hers with Scotland on the international break, and I think even more tragically, and I'm taking any fan bias out of here, with Manchester United, they have a new signing, Emma Watson, hasn't played for the club yet, hasn't made a first team appearance, has done her ACL and is out for the season. And it's just things like that, just devastation. That's it. Caroline Weir, her season gone. Emma Watson, season gone.
I get that, but I know we all know ACL is devastating. We've had 4 in one season ourselves, but it's a case of there's no disrespect to Scotland, but they didn't have international duty over the summer. They had a holiday,
which makes you wonder. Yeah.
So it just it does make you wonder, like, what is the core problem of this ACL breakout? It's kind of mad, but since Matt has mentioned international breaks and you guys can talk about it, I was going to save this for later, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Do you think we could have some more shocks coming our way due to the amount of international players we've had that not had a holiday?
Yeah, I think we can. I think that definitely. I just want to say on the onus thing. I think he said he's even his pre-match notes from an interview pre-game, but they've only had 10 sessions to get the players, 10 sessions of a full squad between the end of the season and now, which just isn't anywhere near enough. I think there could be shocks. I look at Man City, for other reasons, the fact that they've hardly recruited.
Yeah.
I think, Man United, if they go into Europe, their squads can be stretched thin. There could be shocks there. I think there'll be shocks with us because of the fact that we are having to annoyingly grow on the fly. We haven't had I'm sure the players love each other and they're getting off each other, but in building those bonds which weren't there for a lot of the game takes time, and time we do not have, sadly. Chelsea, I look at their season. Emma Hayes is going to want to go for that Champions League. They've invested big this summer. They're all on the Champions League, and look, fair play. We can mock and we can joke, but Emma Hayes, fair enough. She wants Champions League. She's come very close to Chelsea quite a few times. And she'll think, I've gone big, I've got in the likes of Ashley Lawrence, we can never punt it. And if she's doing that, she may get to the point in the season where she has to choose between the WSL and the Champions League. That may lead to a conflict of focus. That could lead to a shock. And to be truthful, as much as we are, feel bitter about the fact we lost 1-0 to Liverpool, for the greater good of the WSL, it's brilliant because you don't want to have a league. Obviously, at Arsenal, I want to win every game. But as a league as a whole, it can't be a one where just one team just steamrolls it and there's no competition.
It's been like that for the last 4 years. I'm really sorry to disappoint you.
We don't want to get your league when Chelsea's team. We want the other teams to think that they've got a fighting chance. That's why Liverpool beat Chelsea last season. And any team, if you're not fully on it, as Arsenal weren't fully on it, and they'll try and we'll pick over the starting lineup and maybe where we went wrong. But if your team's not fully on it, not on form, not fully connected, and then you're not fully on, teams can do this to you. And Liverpool gained Arsenal in the end of the day with the way they set up, with the way they made Arsenal play where they wanted to play, the way they got the goal and the way they managed the game. They managed Arsenal out of the game, and that can happen. And I think it should be this to be seen as a warning shot to anybody that you're not going to just turn up and win. Those days are gone in the WSL.
The great news as well is that this has allowed Jonas to not be able to use the same tactics as that worked last season. They might not work this well. Like the Gembiti, putting Gembiti up top for the last 5, 10, 15 minutes, that's not going to work anymore because every team's going to be like, oh, we know for certain Gembiti's going to
Do
be
you
playing
know
up
what I
top
thought
next.
was a bit crazy, like with that lineup? We had Frida on the wing.
Right. Okay. Should we pick apart the lineup then? Should we go through
So
it?
our lineup was we had a 3-4-3. Manuela Zimbasberger in goal, back three of Lotte Wubben-Moy, Gembiti, Steph Catley. Midfield 4 of Chloe Lacasse, Kimmy Little, Leah Volti, Katie McCabe. We will come on to her in a bit more detail because she's done it again. First one of the season. Frida Mornham, Alessia Russo, and Caitlin Ford up top.
Yes. So this was a really interesting one because there was an issue we knew going into it that Noah Maritz had an injury issue. To a bit of a knock in training, and this was always sort of the big sort of setup. We knew we were short in the right back option, and because of Fiona being injured, and we knew we didn't get a right back. So we're just obviously praying that Maritz has a full bill of health, and of course, lo and behold, she doesn't. And so Jonas has faced the prospect early on is how am I going to set this team up without a right back? And of course, team sheet comes out, we see BT and Lottie on the team sheet. We're thinking, oh no, not again. And I was thinking, right, obviously he's played Steph Catley on the left, and he's played McCabe as a wrong-sided right back, and that's how he's going to cater it. Not ideal, but yeah. And he's played Lotta and Jen together, probably because they're experienced. I would have thought maybe Amanda instead, or like a deal would come on. No, we were all wrong. It's a return of the back three. Now I hate back threes. I've made no secret of it. I know that we rode a back three.
Really, I don't remember if you did or not.
I could understand us playing a back three last season because we didn't have enough play. We didn't have the midfield to play back four because of injuries, so we had to play back three, and out of necessity. And England, fair play, they rode it to the final, and then in the final it got found out. But yeah, seeing us in the back three for me is too defensive. This is a game we should have taken to Liverpool, and it left us short in the midfield, as we'd find out. So it was a back three of Steph Catley, Gembiti and Lotte. Again, with Gembiti, you can't play her in the back four. It has to be in the back three because of the player she is now. So I was looking at the team. I was trying to work it out because I was seeing Steph Catley.
I'm really sorry, Adam. Did you just say Gembiti?
Yeah, Gembiti.
I just had to make sure about that. Go on.
Yeah. So Steph Catley, I was looking. It was really weird to watch because where I was sat, I was behind the goal we were defending in the first half. And I was trying to work out all the players are, and I was seeing Steph Catley in the left, saying, "Where's McCabe?" And oh no, McCabe's on the left. Where's Ford? Oh, Ford's on the left as well. It was very sort of weird to try and sort of work out how it was working. So what we had instead was Chloe Lacasse rather than as a right forward, as a right wing back, and Yodson Mornham rather than being the 10, sort of operating on the right. And I think this was trying to replicate the sort of twin 10s that Jonas used last season. If you might remember, he had McCabe and Palova sort of operating there. This time around, it was Ford and Liotson Morning with Russo in the lead. And then you had obviously Kim and Volti as the midfield pivot. I don't think it worked. And the problem, we had a few chances. Obviously, I think it was BT at the best moment with the header from a corner. Brilliant save from Laws. And that was the moment. We saw on the replay. Brilliant fingertip save. If BT gets that bit more of it to the left, top bins, and maybe we're up and running. But there was a break in play, and there was a slight tactical tweak that Matt Beard did. And after that, we were completely nullified. And I think the last shot on target we had the entire game, I think, was the Kim Little drive from the edge of the box, which drew a pretty routine save from Laws. And that was it. We didn't have an effort. Liverpool just completely nullified us. They filled the midfield where we were short because we only had two midfielders. We had no creativity. We were forced to go wide. Liverpool made us go wide. We were extremely left-centric because we had McCabe and Ford and Catley on the left. Lacasse didn't get a pass in the first half. And we just kept going down the left, swing the crossing, and Liverpool were more than happy to head away. And through it just became incredibly one-dimensional. And it just, as the game deteriorated, and this is still after Liverpool obviously got the goal, which we get into, I never was convinced that we were going to score. But I was 60 minutes, I thought, yeah, we're not going to score. Unless something massively changes in formation, in personnel, if Liverpool do something stupid. But the game just died. I could just watching the time just bleed away and thinking, I never got the sense that there was this big second wind and we were going to get it. The the formation just didn't work, sadly, in this occasion. And I do think in the next game, Man United, he will have to go to back four. Hopefully, Noah Merritt's is fit, and maybe we can change the back four up and play with an extra midfielder with a bit more creativity and a bit more presence in the midfield, and maybe just done better. But yeah, it was not a good one for the tacticians, for the Arsenal tacticians this time around.
One thing that did worry me was that there were players that were available that could have played on the right hand side. But maybe it could have been because of the partnerships that we've been talking about earlier. That might have been one of the reasons why Jonas decided to go against that and play as he did. And this is going to be seen as a learning curve. He can't keep doing the same tactics because that other teams will just learn and adapt. Essentially, that's what Matt Beard has done. He's been watching the tapes from last season, what went well, what went really badly, how they can defend, and essentially this was a game that I felt we didn't lose that badly, and it wasn't like it was it's a one-off sort of thing. It was more about let's see what can happen. And I for that first half I thought, right, okay, if we can carry on, maybe we can get something out of this in that second half, maybe a substitution in that second half. My main worry was seeing on that right hand side Chloe Lacasse working out her socks off left down that wing, trying to get it on the ends of things, trying to put balls into the box, and it's just whatever happened, it just wasn't working, and it was a real shame because she was a fantastic player, but there were other players as well that was probably on top there as probably some of the best. But there were some fantastic moments from everyone throughout. But
who would you have started as if you were to play a back four rather than the five? Who would you have started as right back?
At right back, I wouldn't have probably. I would have said probably Amanda Elisha, just because she knows a little bit more of the team than Leia Codina does. So I think the problem is Leia has come through training post Champions League, so she hasn't been with the squad that long compared to Amanda.
I'm going to throw this out there. What about Vic Palova?
This is exactly the one I was thinking of, because Palova plays well. This is the thing. Palova plays right wing back for the Dutch. Well, this is the thing, because Palova ended Rachel Daly's career. I was there. I saw her. She had Daly in her pocket in that first half, to the extent that she had to be subbed off. You can't deny it. I was watching it. I was there in the stand. Daly could not get any change out of Palova.
I've heard. So I didn't watch the game.
But there is a difference between playing wing back and full back. Just ask Nuno Tavares. It's not quite the same. But as a utility player, and considering it was Liverpool, I think we could have got away with playing Palova in that position at right back. I think she had the tenacity and the speed to be able to perform that to a level that would have compensated for the lack of Maritz. I think Palova looked good when she came on. I think she came on too late. The problem is the game, because the game obviously in second half, as we were looking at from the other perspective, I couldn't really see what our defensive formation was after the mass changes. I don't know if we went to a back four or back three. Whatever change we did make, the game was gone by then. And I was speaking to a friend at half time, and they were saying, what do you think of the half? And they said, well, we're all right, we're in it, but we just can't afford to concede. We just can't afford. If we don't concede, we could do it. And of course, the moment that happened, Liverpool were like, well, we can just shut up shop here. And I would say, look, it was extremely frustrating to watch. I know we'll probably pick apart the goal in a bit, but it was so frustrating to watch as an Arsenal fan, because Liverpool were playing the housery game management, playbook, to perfection. Just the amount of stoppages and injuries and time wasting. There's a weird moment. Even the referee was pausing the game for about 5 minutes. I've no idea why. It was very weird. But Arsenal didn't help themselves either, because this was.
To be fair, Frida Liards and Mornham did take up the referee, which I'm so proud of them for.
Well,
I don't know if you saw that from your seat. I thought it was hilarious.
No, I don't think I saw that one. What I would
you should have. You had a better view than I did.
Arsenal did not help themselves with some of the worst passing I've seen. Just the amount of moves in the game that failed. I remember there was one in the second half. We were running for Ford. Simple pass down the line, literally simple pass down the line for the overlapping fullback, because she'd moved over to the right by then. and she just skewed it straight out for a throw. And it was just so frustrating that we'd have 3 or 4 minutes of passing around, trying to move the Liverpool defence. And then we go for the penetrating pass and it's overhit for a goal kick. And that's it, 5 minutes wasted. It was just really weird how there was just no synergy, no chemistry on the team. It was like watching the Paris game all over again. Just the sort of limp.
It wasn't as bad as Paris. I don't mean to be I'm disagreeing with you there completely.
Yeah,
it wasn't as bad as Paris.
Well,
I think my main issue was I got into a heated argument post game.
Oh, really? That's most unlike you, Lottie.
No, it was just saying. Someone said, "Why did we waste all that money on Leslie Russo?" What?
We didn't. She was free. She was free. We didn't waste any money on her.
Exactly, for a start. And it was just like, oh, what's the point of a record bid and all this kind of stuff? I'm like, I look back at that game. What service did she get?
No.
Why was it Catley or McCabe or even Caitlin Ford crossing in like they normally do? Steph Catley, I can rely on her for a beautiful cross. McCabe, no problem. I ain't seen any of that. This is going to sound really bad coming from me, but someone even said, I'm sure, like, this is someone who's sitting there in an Ireland shirt. Katie's been out on the tiles the night before. She's not playing like Katie.
No.
And that's coming from an Ireland fan. Sitting in a McCabe shirt.
Yeah.
Like a big green shirt. And I was like, might have a point there, but it's probably not that. The amount of games they've had, as we've said before, it was just no service for Russo. You just couldn't get on the end of it. Although I have to say, her ball control, bringing it down to the ground, not right. And she wasn't watching her spacing either from when they were shooting out towards the North Bank. And it was just like, come on.
There was weird moments.
It was very much frustrating. It got to the point where
the game.
blocks 3 and 4 counting down. Counting the seconds that the goal he took to get the ball. I know it's game management, but when it's getting to like a minute, you're taking the mick.
There was a moment for Kay when moments it kept happening when they were. I said we were left centric because all our best players were on the left, and we kept trying to target the left flank continuously. And McCabe would race onto a ball, race down the channel. She's got the defender on her shoulder, and she's thinking, "Go on, McCabe, get round her, bit of burst of pace," and she'd stop. She would stop, and then play the ball back up the line and just kill the attack dead. And it was just so many moments where we'd stop, and then pass. No snap, no zip. Remember the Freedom Morning screamer against Bayern Munich, where it was just zip, zap, pass, goal. There was just none of that. It was
just really slow.
It's too slow. Nobody knew where the next pass was going to be. It was having to stop and think, and then it was just punt cross from the corner of the penalty box, looping over towards the far post, overshooting everybody out for a goal kick. And it just happened again and again and again and again. And then I'm already thinking, I swear I've watched this 5 minutes before. This is the same tape on a loop. And it just got to the point where we're not going to win it. 10 minutes. The biggest roars of the game were, I think, because the fans were just lulled into a stupor because of how boring it was to watch. The biggest roars were, I think, kickoff. I
don't mean to be funny. Speak for yourself. I was singing for 90 minutes.
Oh, you were? I'm talking about the other.
And you can ask Matt, because Matt was just about half a block away from me, and he could hear me.
The biggest
roar. And Lily was on the other side. Yeah. She could hear me.
The biggest roar, as in the entire stadium, roaring as one, was probably kickoff when the attendance got announced and when 10 minutes of added time was called. And those are the sort of the big, because there was nothing else to turn it. And rightfully so, but there was nothing really else to sort of celebrate, which I thought was rather sad. I mean, we can go over the goal if you want. What?
Well, Matt, it's one of Matt's favourite assisters, Missy Bo Kearns.
Oh, he's a big fan of her.
It's crossing to Miri Taylor and left-footed shot, the bottom left corner of the box, like the goal, I should say, not the box. What am I talking about? But like, it was just like it happened really quickly. 3 minutes into the second half, you're sitting there like, what the hell? And like, I've got to say, when that full-time whistle went, I didn't even know there was an away end that day. I didn't hear a peep out of them fans until full-time.
I did just before full time. I did hear a little rendition of "You'll Never Walk Alone."
Yeah, that was it. That was it. I didn't know that away corner was full. No. So well done to the Liverpool fans, but I didn't know you were there.
Yeah, make a bit of noise.
Exactly. I don't know what they're like up at their ground, but not a peep. Then again, I was directly opposite them on the other side of the pitch.
It's very similar at Prenton Park. They literally there'll be like a few little pockets that'll sing, but that'll be it.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But it's very mixed match at their ground at the moment. They are looking to implement away stands this season. I think that's a whole regulation. So essentially,
it's going to have to be a regulation, especially if you've got men's fans coming across. You've got to be so careful.
So
there was a Liverpool fan in the front of my block.
Ooh.
Half a block, a Liverpool fan. We're sitting with her Arsenal fans, and they'd scored. She'd just come back from the concourse just as they scored. She's waving her scarf. You've got the whole of 2 looking at her, and the whole of 3, and some of 4 looking over at her. Like,
how she got in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's if that was a North London derby and you had idiots in attendance, she would have been in trouble.
Well, as somebody who
I'm
went
not
to the
saying that the women's
Netherlands,
culture is like that, but the men's culture will come across, and I can see it in the current songs that have been upgraded. It's coming, and a lot of people are not going to like that change.
I will say, as somebody who went to the Netherlands and was sat in the Netherlands fans as an England fan, being the sole person, along with Ali, who opened the pod, standing up and cheering Russo's goal and getting very loudly and getting some very weird stares from the team in orange. Yes, I know you can be a bit awkward, but it does have its benefits. Well, it did until sadly, Janssen got the winner for them. The goal is strange for me because if you all think back to the Paris game, it's almost identical to Paris's third goal because we had the kickoff. We lost it with a long punt. And then they work it and they get a low cutback straight through the entire defence and tapping at the far post. Yeah. And it's not good. There's Catley and Ford lose 2 50-50s. They work the ball across. Manu, I don't think shifts her feet quick enough. I think she gets caught on a heel slightly, doesn't shuffle across. I was saying to a friend, remember the David Raya save at the North London derby where he got his body across and made that brilliant scoop save? That's what Manu needed to do. She had to shuffle across and she sort of turned 90 degrees and then ran. And that wasn't the move to make. And that was it. That was the moment. And pretty much after that, watching the game die, I was the horror of realizing what was going to happen. It just felt so bad.
There's 3 points there to this goal. Essentially, no one closing down the cross. No one closing down. I think it's actually Lottie who's the closest player to. So
Lottie goes down to one knee, and Lacasse hasn't got there.
No, it's not that. It's Lottie's got the player that's the goal scorer. Lottie's got. She's supposed to be marking her.
You mean Mary Taylor?
Mary Taylor, thank you. She's essentially she is checking her shoulder. She's a couple of yards away from her, so she knows. And then she just keeps on letting her go forward and thinking, hold on, something's not right here. And then she just slips in behind and gets a little touch, and it's
just loses on the mark.
It just loses it. I don't know what Manu's doing. I don't know if Manu's just lost a little bit of concentration or she was trying to tell Lottie to concentrate because she knew that player was going to get the touch. Manu hasn't done herself a great favour because she spilled it. And as goalkeeper, there's nothing worse than spilling an easy save. But there was no need for people to turn around and go, oh, I wanted Mary Earps in the summer, and that's the reason why. Every goalkeeper in the world will have moments where they make really bad saves. Mary Earps has a horrible moment of stopping top corner goals. It's happened to Katie. It's happened against Viv. It happens. Not every goalkeeper is 100% perfect, and the same goes every single player that's on night 11. Whatever you say, they have their faults, and it got me really riled up. The fact that people going after a goalkeeper that gives a rule, gives 100%. Okay, yes, she's not been in the greatest form and she's not going through a good patch at the moment, but players do. And there are times where you do look at some of these games and think, would Sabrina do better? I'm trying to think, would Stina would have been better for that game? Any things like that you sort of think about, but to openly criticize players online now I nearly said something.
I know what you mean. What I've noticed is, and I think it's ever since the Earps bid failed, from out of nowhere, there's been this really big anti-Manu sentiment. I know we had a bit of it when she first joined the club, but then she sort of became more settled in the club, and she's become a brilliant keeper. She won the Golden Glove in I think 2 seasons ago. She's kept us in so many games, especially when I remember the FA Cup final, we lost 3-0 in that first half. She was amazing. Chelsea could have been 3-0 up at half time if it wasn't for Manu, and she's become better. She's become reliable. And ever since that Earps bid, the entire fan base has just completely turned on her. And it's not. And unfortunately, in the international break, she had, I think, 2 howlers, and they've been clipped up and they've been jiffed, and people are saying, right, yeah, she's finished, she's gone. And I don't know. I do worry. So it's all sort of snowballed in some way. But this out of nowhere, this anti-Manu sentiment is just disgusting. And it's not just Manu. I mean, there's been calls for Jonas's head. After one WSL game, people was going, "Oh well, we should, Jonas needs to go."
I've got to be honest with you. Too many people playing. What do you call it? The WSL. Too many players playing it. Now you've got access to it on FIFA. You've now got a FIFA generation.
Yeah.
I think they know best and all the rest of it. But the fact is,
just wait till it comes onto Football Manager, then we'll see.
Oh
God,
no,
that's gonna be
please
even
don't.
worse.
I as much as I would like to play it, you're getting a generation who are going to be like we do in the men's. We've got the FIFA generation, and that for the women's is coming. I think it's already arrived, because I'm seeing fans now saying, "Oh no, we should have started Sabrina D'Angelo. Forget Earps. Sabrina should be number 1 keeper." And I'm sitting there thinking, like, the amount of times Manu has saved us. It's like, how dare you be so ungrateful? It's, as the Goalkeepers Union on our pod has said, everybody can't have a perfect game every game. I mean, I expect Caitlin Ford to be putting that header away. Did she put it away the other day? No.
Hit the bar.
Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. Even it was someone else's header that should have gone in. I expect them to get
a header.
There was about 3 or 4 different headers there.
Exactly, but at least 2 of those should have gone in, and it didn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, we got the right changes. Lena Hurtig looked absolutely brilliant, but they just.
I mean, can we talk?
I think my main problem with them yesterday was nobody was looking up. No. The amount of times I saw Chloe Lacasse standing there unmarked in the middle of acres of space, Katie McCabe, acres of space. It's like, just stop,
old
just look
familiar
up.
Williamson, Rafaela long ball that does we have a lovely switch on.
Yeah, no, but we don't have that anymore.
No,
like, that is one partnership breakup I will never, ever, 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 ever get over.
No.
And I'm not going to. It's like, I think Rafaeli posted something on Instagram the other day, missing my buddy, and I'm sitting there thinking, just come home then.
Just come back.
Come home.
Please.
Come back on loan for a month or 2.
Can we just say, because
don't ever leave.
We are veering into mass negativity and sadness. Can we just actually have a shout out for Lena Hurtig? Because in that mire and pain,
she was just a breath of that's the breath of fresh air. The confidence that's come off that girl since the World Cup. Oh my God, it's just.
She got one of the biggest cheers as well.
No, she did. She did.
There was a bit where she got to the byline. She actually got round the defender, got to the byline, and cut the ball back. And I was just thinking, oh, this is going to be. And of course, I think it was either blocked or it was slash wide. But I was thinking, brilliant. This is the Hurtig we wanted last season. I mean, if she can stay fit, then maybe we can get something out of her. I mean, could she start against Man United? I mean, if she did, I don't think I would be too upset.
I'd rather her come off the bench. Her as fresh legs. I like.
This is the whole idea.
Her and Cena looked good when they came off. Well, that partnership looked good. The only person who didn't really sink in with that was Caitlin Ford. I know she's been playing all game, but there was one point where she had the ball. Hurtig's in miles of space. Instead of passing it across where there was no possible chance of intercept, she decided to do just take the ball, turn around with the ball, and try and not make the Liverpool player. It's not gonna work. There's 3 of them on you. Just try and get rid of it to someone. Look up.
Ford was shunted onto the right, and I never forgot that. For me, Ford is a left winger, and that's where she should play. And using her in an auxiliary position, either as a centre or the right, I don't think does her justice. And I should also say, I think we mentioned it with Jen Beattie earlier, the fact that we are now, this is the 3rd game I think we've had to rely on Jen Beattie as auxiliary forward. I know it's saved our bacon twice against Wolfsburg. Well, not quite saved bacon, but it gave us a heroic moment in 2 games to take the game to extra time and 2-2. But it can't. It's a bit like when I'm watching England now, and Millie Bright's been thrown forward. And think, yes, it got us an equaliser against Spain in the Euros, but it can't be our option. Like, things are going wrong, we'll throw Millie Bright up front. Things are going right, we'll throw Yen Beatty. The moment I see Yen Beatty as an auxiliary striker, I know we're in major trouble, and we shouldn't be in a position where we get to the point that that's our only option left. And I think that says a lot about the state of where we are at the moment with the team, that we're being forced to do that, and that doesn't feel right to me. Well, it's just, again, full time. That's what it comes to. Liverpool looks so comfortable. We look so just blunt and drained, and you think, well, at least we've got an easy game coming up next. No, we don't. It's Manchester United away on a Friday night.
Do you know what? Our next 2 fixtures are bloody hard. Like, I'm not. Like, we've also got Aston Villa, like, in a couple of weeks, and it's just like, really?
That's 6 points dropped last season. We lost both of those games last season, and now we've got to try and get a win. What happens if we lose all 3?
Please, as you said earlier, let's just steer away from that negativity. I know we're all feeling rubbish.
No,
but it's just
genuine. I'm being genuine. Look at it. It could genuinely happen, because I always say, if something happened last season, is there anything that has changed or you've seen that could see a change of the narrative in these 2 games? It has to happen in these days between, this week in training. Jonas, the team, they have to come together and they have to come to a solution which is going to get them the win against Man United and get the win against Aston Villa. It has to be the hard training on at London Colney. It has to be getting the formation right. It has to be getting the players right. It has to, the players who are coming in, the bonds aren't going to be there, but they need to play out their skins. They can do it, because we've won at the LSV before, and we've beaten Aston Villa at home before. The last time we did, we battered them 7-0, and it was great, but that was at Meadow Park. So the team can do it. They can't make this mistake again. Bin the back 3.
If I'm honest
play
with you,
the way
I just feel like we
play.
can't be complacent. I felt like we were complacent.
We were. I reckon to the point we probably underestimated Liverpool, and that's criminal. I think
Again,
it's our day.
It doesn't come down to
massive
international
attendance.
duty.
It's our party. No, I think it's simply it's our party. Record attendance. Opening game of season. We rarely ever lose. It's Liverpool. We beat them 2-0 last season, home and away. We turn up, and playing a back 3, but there was enough quality to pitch. Russo starting. I so wanted Russo to get a debut goal and get her up and running, and we didn't get that, which is rather annoying. But we'll go over and we'll beat Liverpool. She didn't have any
service. You can't expect her to do all on her own without any service.
We're talking about fine margins as well.
Yeah. I know it's fine margins and all of that kind of stuff, but like, for a player of her caliber, she needs to work on bringing the ball down to the ground and keeping it.
She can do that perfectly. It was the fact that I think there was no one to really lay her off. It's effectively Frida.
That's not what I saw. Was that day, and I was half a block away from you.
I saw.
There are players that should have been running for Alessia to sort of play 1-2s off of. Yeah. That was what the plan should have been. There were players that you could have probably. But when you take that
player that does that and put her out on the wing, that doesn't work.
That was what the thing was. The fact you had Ford, who was just hugging the left. You then had Frida, who's hugging the right.
And Frida's that person that she needs. It's like when Viv comes back, Viv and Frida will be those people to help Russo. Whereas
Beth
Ford
will do it as well.
And whoever's on the other side can do whatever.
Ford went far too left. Frida obviously went far too right. Lacasse didn't really support enough. Kim and Little too far deep as a pivot, and you've got Alessia just isolated in this sea of Liverpool shirts. And
I'll tell you though, Kim's shot right outside the edge of the box. I was hoping we would see more of those, because that was really the test that we really didn't have. If the balls aren't coming in the box and they're defending them, why not shoot outside the box? You've got players that can do that.
I was getting 2019 North London Derby vibes when she did that with Spurs Stadium. Chest, a little shimmy, a little jink, and then a curler into the bottom corner. And I thought she was going to do it again. But again, Law's got a footwork right, shuffled across, dived, routine save, good save. And that again, which I said earlier, that was our last shot on target. we can fix this. It's a pain because it's in the video game terms, it's a life lost, and it's so frustrating. It's so early on in the season because if you want to have your loss, you don't want the opening game because it leaves us so vulnerable. Chelsea last season lost their opening game. They only lost one other game in the entire season. That was away at Manchester City, and I think they only had a handful of draws, and they drew against us, and there may have been another one. I don't know if it escapes me which one it was. They lost the same amount of games as Manchester United. But the difference was Man U lost both theirs against Chelsea. We can beat any team in the WSL on our day. We've done it in our last few seasons. But we just,
absolutely. It's just after such an exciting transfer window.
Yeah.
It's just the lack of creativity. We've got no. For me, this year we've got no excuse not to bring something back again. We've got no Champions League football.
No.
It's all domestic. We're travelling around the country. We won't be having flights out the country, so there's not as much travelling. Although they are coming back from down under.
Yeah.
What
I think that's a big thing, though. I think the thing is there's more pressure on the domestic. That's what. Sorry, Lottie.
Just for our audio listeners, I just gave up a desk.
Give him a look. That's sorry.
What can we expect round the corner on Friday night? There is no pod on Friday night because obviously we'll all be watching the game. But what can we expect at LSV?
I can expect an amazing chant that's doing the rounds on Twitter. If you haven't watched it, everyone listened to it, go to the AFC Home and Away, learn those lyrics, and I hope they get an absolute belt. We can't repeat it on the pod.
Follow VAW pod because I know it's on that page as well.
Yes, we can't repeat the lyrics because they are slightly rude and post-watershed. But at your own leisure, listen to the lyrics. It's the Charlie Patino song that the Blackpool fans sing, but it's been adapted for Leslie Russo. I do urge you to give it a listen. I think I'm really looking forward to this game. I spoke with Tim before the game, and he said if there's one game he wants to win this season, it's this one because of what it means. Because this has probably become the most loaded fixture of all our fixtures. We all hate Chelsea and all that stuff, but that's title rivals. But Manchester United has brought a different energy in terms of the rivalry.
It's that rivalry of old, and that's what drives people. When I first started going to football, I hated Tottenham, but I hated Man United.
We always did. It's the Fergie
and that's where I'm at the moment.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with that at the moment, and I think what I'm going to enjoy most is they've got all these great, fantastic players. Can he rotate them?
Who, Mark Skinner?
Yeah. I know Jonas can rotate. I got no problem. But can Skinner rotate? And I think that's going to be the most interesting thing. Is he going to run all these players into the ground?
Yeah.
We're talking about fine lines as well, Lottie. I'm just going to bring this in again. Like the fact that essentially they had the early kickoff. Essentially that gives them 2 hours ahead of what we have in terms of recovery, rest, making sure everyone's okay. Compared to us, we were basically flat on our feet, even after making those subs. But looking forward to this one, mainly because I hate LSV and I'm not going this time around. For the
None
first
of us
time in
are
3
going.
years.
Plus, I'm hoping they get a win. It's my birthday this coming weekend. And they better bloody win. And if I have to look at them losing to Man United and the boys losing to City, my birthday's cancelled.
It's definitely the emotional, like your weekend's ruined game. This is like the North London derby game. You do not lose this game under any circumstances.
Yeah, I'm having flashbacks to the time we drew. Please don't.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. I mean, you mentioned about pressure. This with no Champions League, it's all on the WSL. And this was so the idea was as well. We will all on WSL, and then we can, we don't have to worry about Europe because we can rest, we can rotate. And this loss to Liverpool has just sort of completely scrambled that. And now it's like, oh no, now we've got to go Manchester United. Now we want to win, but now it's become we've got to win. We've got to win at Man United. Otherwise, we lost our opening 2 games of the season. Man City did that last season, and they finished 4th. And they're out of Europe altogether. So suddenly it's the game.
I think you need to remember that City don't get very far in Europe. They never have.
Well, they've got to Champions League semi-finals before. Before we start throwing the mockery around.
It's been a long time since you've seen that. Am I wrong?
Well, I have not seen it because it was never broadcast. But
Exactly, but you know when it was.
Yeah, I know.
I certainly haven't seen it. So
recently, it's been Real Madrid knockouts, which has been rather funny.
yeah,
Um,
I'm just
what
at
I'm
this
reminded
point.
of,
I'll be honest with you, boys. I think we can turn it around at LSV. I do
Yeah.
think we can, but I'm looking forward to that break between being up at Man United and coming back to the Emirates. We've got just over a week to sort that out for Villa.
We have.
And after
Villa.
that 4-0, we were on our knees. We've got no excuses for Villa. And, like, I'm really excited for that game. But
I do want to quickly add on that.
How would your lineups look at, Adam, if it were at LSV this Friday?
All right, yeah. So just on the one, I want Russo to start because I want them to score against Manchester United. I want him to get a hat trick, and if that happens, it's going to be electric. If Maritz is fit, it's going to be. I'm going to stick with Manu. Well, I think you just got to judge it. If Manu is looking a bit ropey in training, put Sabrina in. He will happily rotate between the two. It's not like with the men's team where it's like you're the number one now and we're going on. Sabrina can come in at any point. If Sabrina comes in, fine. It can be either of them. I would start Catley left back, Lotta partnered with. I'm going to stay Illister because she's played a bit more with Lotta, even though I don't think it quite worked in Europe. But Kadina hasn't had any experience playing there. I won't play Jen Beattie because she can't play in the back four. I'd also play, if Maritz is fit, I'll play Maritz. If she's not, I'll play Palova. And then I'll do the midfield two of Volty Little, and then I'll play the three of Ford, Liotta Mornham, Lacasse, with Russo as the lone striker. And my hope going into this game is I think back to the men's team, 2006, 2007, where we had a very ropey start. We weren't great at the Emirates. We had some 0 results. And then we went to Old Trafford and won our first game of the season of a very late goal. We won 1-0 there. And suddenly it's like, well, we've won at Old Trafford, the one place we can never seem to win. Now we've got to go to Old Trafford, this what's becoming a bit of a fortress. And it's like, maybe this could be the spark. This could be the moment where it's like the team clicks and it's like we can play great football. The advantage we'll have is that Manchester United will not be sitting low block deep, but Liverpool will. They will be coming for Arsenal. There will be gaps in the defence if we can exploit it. But we've got to be defensively mature and secure, and we've got to play the ball properly and accurately. Get the service to Russo, get her in space because she is deadly, and I'm sure if she scores at LSV, it's going to be electric. It's going to be brilliant.
It's going to be glorious. Just get the right word. It's going to be glorious.
It's going to be glorious.
And if we do win, we will be podding that night. I'm sorry, I won't be able to help myself.
Well, that's fine. And the Schadenfreude will be glorious.
I don't want to. I'm touching wood here because I am going to bring the mockers on us. But Matt, can we turn it around?
Yes, it's only one game. It's not like the end of the world as people were predicting after that.
I know
online.
It has sounded like it's the end of the world on the pod tonight, but it has to be talked about. We try to stay positive, but it can't always be like that, I'm afraid.
There's lots of room for improvement, that's for sure. If I'm honest, I would say looking at that first 20 minutes that we saw in the Tolly of the Villa. United, I would probably say United will look towards playing balls over the top or through balls. Sabrina's very good and very quick off her line. That's something that Manu doesn't do as well at. Although Manu does like to push halfway up towards the halfway line quite a lot, which is always quite funny to see. If we do still have Noel Maritz as a 50-50, put her on the bench. Don't use her unless you really need to. I would imagine it'll be between Leia, Amanda, or you might even consider Victoria, but I would probably more likely put Victoria into that midfield. Probably take Frida out just because she wasn't as good as she was, but she was playing in the wrong position. I think it'll be very similar, but I just think Amanda will come in definitely at centre back alongside Lotta. They did work really well. Unfortunately, in the Champions League qualifiers, they didn't have the best routine together, but got to build those relationships up, and this would be a real test of character and relationships and making sure that we can get something. And it would also be nice if LSV don't decide to make everyone mix together, which we know is guaranteed. So if that song does get sung, I hope every Arsenal fan there is going to be loud and proud and singing it. I know that the Supporters Club have put together a meetup as well at the local pub as well. So I'm sure it's going to be very, very raucous in that pub, and hopefully on the way we can hear it watching the game on Friday. I'm looking forward to this one. It's going to be a very good test for us.
No, I couldn't agree with you more there, Matt.
There was one more thing, Lottie. Sorry, I just remembered. It just came to me because I put a tweet up this earlier. I'm really sorry, but there was I was thinking about last season. We lost Hafa and Leah to injury, so we're basically back to where we were now without Leah and Hafa. And how do we combat that? We cobbled together a back four of Catley, of Lotta, of McCabe, and I think it was probably Vinwart or Maritz. And we put that in against Lyon in the Champions League, and it worked. And maybe we could go back to that again and throw them into the lion's den of LSV. And maybe that could be the solution again because it's worked before. But that, sometimes in these moments of despair and hardship, something brilliant can be formed, and hopefully at LSV that can happen.
No, I'm right, guys. I'd love to ask you your score predictions, but because we haven't got any points yet, I don't want to jinx it. I'm not risking it. So
should we ask who's going to score that first goal then?
No.
Who's going to be the first Arsenal goal scorer?
I can't do it because it's not so much that you and me, Matt. It's Adam. That's the problem. So I can't do it. Adam, we love you, but no, we're not doing it today.
I'm happy
Absolutely
to
can't do it. But
Love
boys,
that I've been shut down
thank you
straight away.
for joining me for the first pod of the season. Welcome back to all our YouTube viewers and our audio listeners over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and any other audio platform. We will be back very soon. We will not be back. Well, we could be back on Friday. Depends, score dependent. But most of our podcasts will be based around the fixtures. They've not been very kind to us because Sky Sports want the Arsenal on the telly. So, which is fine by me, but it's not fan friendly. But we will be back soon. Until then, goodbye.